Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Tittle Tattle Tarot. It's Georgie. And on the table today, I have the Knights Templar Tarot. And I'm going to be looking at Queen Charlotte. Queen Charlotte was born in 1744, and she was the wife of King George. Mad King George. So yes, I want to do a reading purely on her energy, and what it was like to be Queen Charlotte, to be married to this man, to have all those children, and just key into very much her energy. So we're talking about Queen Charlotte. So when she was born, just as Charlotte, Princess Charlotte, in 1744, she was born into a small German backwater, just very provincial German area. And I want to know what it was like during her early childhood. So let's just get a card for her early childhood growing up in this small German backwater. Page of Cups. I think it was quite a loving environment. Pages of Cups, it's messages: you are loved, you are cherished, you are cared for from the hearts. This would have been a child that had a good education, had the best of intentions given to her. Her upbringing was done from the heart with the best intentions. So, she would have been a well-educated girl, and, every need been met, basically. So let's just get another one on her growing up. We just have one more. So Page of Cups, nice energy to start with. The Hermit, very sort of sensible girl. I would say yes, sort of the education. She was a Protestant, interestingly enough. And, she would have been very settled, very much a girl who had her head screwed on, I would say. She wouldn't have been a flighty girl, down to earth and solid. With this Hermit card, so she was a good choice, really, for King George, or as he was then, the Prince of Wales. George decided that yes, he wanted to marry her. He settled on her. She wasn't a great beauty, and that didn't matter to him. He was not worried about her beauty. So let's just see what we get on beauty. Beauty's overrated, isn't it? But no, she wasn't a great beauty. Eight of Swords, yeah, that didn't matter, Eight of Swords, and to her it didn't matter either. The Eight of Swords here, this is very much, it's a prison for you. If the Eight of Swords came up with beauty, you'd think, and it was the right way up, you think, I don't like to look at myself. I put myself in a cage over this. People won't want to look at me. It's all mental torture about, the size of your nose or whatever, whatever point you focus on. You might be too heavy. You might, whatever it might be. You make a mental prison of it. And this is very much sort of, closing your eyes to it, just not wanting to acknowledge it. And then the prison's all around you. It's usually got swords encasing the figure. No, no, no. He didn't care about that. He let any of her sort of physical flaws, that didn't matter to him at all. He let it go, and she was the same. Well, I am as I am. I look the way I look, and she was absolutely fine with it. So she wasn't worried about not being a great beauty. That beauty didn't matter to her. She was a salt of the earth kind of woman. So that's interesting. So they got married in 1761. Great sort of match, really. He loved her, she loved him. Got married in 1761, and just an energy card for getting married. King of Pentacles, there you are. There's the King of Pentacles. I would say that is King George III. And let's pull one for Charlotte. Two of Swords in reverse. Yeah, Two of Swords. If it had been the right way up for Charlotte, I would have said that, she had doubts. Should I go through with this? Shouldn't I? Oh, there's another prince somewhere that likes me, or, I'm not sure about this man. is this the right choice? So that's the Two of Swords the right way up. I see when the Two of Swords is the other way, it's, yeah, there is no other choice. Not that, not that she was forced into this, but this is the choice I want to make. This is the direction I want to go in. I'm not crossed over this. I've let that go. Yes, I want this King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles wanted her. All good stuff. All good stuff. So King of Pentacles, yes, well, he was a very wealthy King of England. And here we have the line on the sash here with the crown. Yeah, very much the King of England. Very down to earth man before these fits of madness, depression, whatever it was, took over from him. He was very much grounded, and between them, they made a good marriage. Um, they made a good marriage. Let me just see what it says about the marriage. Page of Swords. Yeah. Truthful, Pages of Swords, they're messages of truth and honesty. Um, Between them, there were no affairs or anything like that. He was one of the rare kings that didn't have affairs. He stayed faithful to Charlotte throughout their marriage. And, he said things later on in life when he was in these very weird episodes. He sort of said that he was having affairs and what have you. But as far as we know, he didn't. So Page of Swords is the truth. They were very honest with each other. And, they had a good, faithful, attentive relationship. Now, she became the mother of 13 children, which was basically a child rearing record for Queen, 13 children. I don't think that there were any miscarriages, or if there were, it was just one, the odd one. I know that sounds awful, but when you think about how women used to miscarry and children born in, died in childbirth, and mothers died in childbirth. Really, she did very well. 13 children that lived. So let's just see what it was like. 13 children for her. Seven of Swords in reverse. And what else have we got here? Four of Wands. Very pleased. She'd done her duties. Four of Wands is very much the home, the castle, the four walls. She had done more than what she was expected to do. Heir and spare, and 10 others, or 11 others. So she'd done extremely well on the child rearing or child giving birth front, and that made for a very secure monarchy, very square home, very good for steady walls of the palace. So well done. Seven of Swords. I see this as boundaries. Seven of Swords is very much keep away, keep your boundaries away. Don't step over that line. Don't come too close. She had no boundaries as far as King George was concerned. He could ask her to do anything. She backed him up on anything. So especially regarding the children, Seven of Swords, his word was absolutely obeyed. And she never ever crossed him. Seven of Swords is quite sort of confrontational. No, I'm not doing that. You're not going to say that. You're not going to do that. She never put her foot down with King George. So that's the way I read that, being in reverse. So they had all these children, and I see this as this was great. It shored up their reign. And he was master of all as far as rearing children was concerned, or anything to do with children, education, what have you. She always broke to his will, never even thought to question him. So I want to know then about what it was like bringing up these children, and her living at this palace and bringing up these children with King George. What was King George like as a husband and a father? What was he like as a husband and a father? Okay. So this is not a healing card. This is not things done for the best possible motives. I would say that the star, the right way up, look at the way this person is like mixing these fluids into like a pot, doing it lovingly with the star shining down. You can imagine that this is an elixir that is for health, for goodness, a wise sort of sage of a person. Well, King George, even in his best of times, before he was, suffering from these mental bouts of illness, he didn't do anything really for the greater good. He was very much a selfish man, and I see that as a selfish card. So let's pull another one on this. I see that star as not being all giving. I see it as being a selfish card. Eight of Wands, yeah. The Eight of Wands, this way round, it's good communication. But I think, as their family grew, I'm not saying he was a tyrant, but it was his way. And there was no questioning him. He made the rules. He said how they would be educated, who they could see, who they couldn't see, more likely. And that was the end of the conversation. So how did that play out with Charlotte? What was he like as a husband to Charlotte? What was he like as a husband to Charlotte? Ace of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, I see this as he wouldn't allow her to grow. Ace of Pentacles is, something that you plant and it blossoms. There was no blossoming for Queen Charlotte being married to him. This was suffocating. If you have a seed and you suffocate it too much, and you don't give it air to breathe, and you don't give it the nutrients that it needs, it will just wither and die. And I think that he was so cloying with his affection of her that she couldn't bloom. So she was stifled by it. So I just want to pull another one about Queen Charlotte, because she was a philanthropist. She gave away a lot of money to charity, and she supported a lot of charities. So let's look at that aspect of her life. She's very controlled by him and smothered by him. But what about an area that she could be a little bit freer? Her philanthropy. Yeah, that kind of healed the broken heart, really. I think that this way up, this is heartbroken because you can't express yourself. You feel smothered and to some degree heartbroken by the fact that you can't sort of have freedom to have friends and all that kind of thing. Well, I think her charity work let her heal. Let her be the person that she was supposed to be in that area of her life. So another one on charity, please. Yeah, that really was a very, very important part of her life. It gave her fulfillment. Three of Swords in reverse. It helped heal her heart because she was so isolated. That's really the main card that I pick up with her. The isolation of being her, the isolation of, having this man who didn't want to share her, shall we say. So they suffered the loss of two children, two boys. One of them was very, very young. I think one of them was about 2 years old, and the other was, a little bit older, but they died in quick succession. And this is when King George had his first bout of this madness, this illness. So I just want to look at the deaths of the two sons. Yeah, look at this. Five of Swords. This is the fighting, the angst, the hurting each other. I should imagine that there was a lot of hurt within the whole family when these two young boys died. I see this main figure here as being King George, And I think that he lashed out and he hurt the people closest to him, had that bullying energy. He was so tormented by his own feelings here in the Ace of Cups that he just lashed out at everybody. And this was like the precursor to him, having this breakdown or whatever he had that caused this prolonged period of madness. Ace of Cups, well, it didn't totally break their marriage, but my God, it didn't do it any good. Ace of Cups, all this emotion over these two lost boys. So this is the start of something bad here. And how did she cope when he went through this? We don't know whether it was a mania, a part of, manic depression, a part of bipolar, whether he was on a very, very severe manic period, or whether it was porphyria or what it was, but he was terrible and he was awful to live with. He was ranting. How did she cope during that time? Five of Pentacles. Yeah, well, this is the isolation card. This is this mad king. You can see it here, and the people running after him. He was running around. He was going off at the mouth. He was talking, wouldn't stop. And it was very much like living with this outcast person, this person who was just, nobody knew what to do with. The Five of Pentacles is your odd child. And that sounds strange using that in the terms of a king. But yeah, he was very much somebody who nobody could control. So how did that affect her personally? Queen of Cups, Two of Cups. Well, how poignant that is. Her love for him just started to fall out of this cup, started to run away from her. They'd been so close, and then the loss of these two boys, it just turned them upside down. You could say if these were up the other way, Queen of Cups, she gave him so much love, and they worked together to overcome this manic period that he was in. No, it wasn't like that. He was a very difficult man to love during that, and she pulled away from him. And, their union was not, it wasn't a union. She couldn't bear to be around him. And he was totally unstable. He was dreadful to the children. And, what an awful, awful state. So things rallied, and it did get better. It did get better. It was thought that their son, the Prince of Wales, another George, was going to have to, become regent, and they set it all up, but he didn't because the father got better. So what was it like after he got better for Queen Charlotte? After her husband got better, what was it like? Ten of Cups. Well, for a while, it was good. For a while, you're back thinking, oh, we've got our husband back, we've got our father back. Everything seemed to be, I wouldn't say it was the jolly happy Ten of Cups, but this is sort of from the outside, it looked all right, a bit sort of Instagrammy. Oh yes, well, the king is well again, the king's on top form, but it didn't last. And that's very much sort of the Ten of Cups energy. It all looks good on the surface, but it didn't last. And there were just more bouts of this mental illness that attacked him, several more bouts. So I'm just going to go for her energy when these bouts kept coming back. The Tower and the Three of Wands. Yeah, I mean, it was the ultimate. We got the Tower in reverse. It was the ultimate terrible thing. This illness, she didn't know how to cope with it. She totally divorced from him, if you like. She didn't divorce, but she moved away as far as she could from him. And the Three of Wands, she could see no improvement in this. With the Three of Wands this way, you can see your ship coming, you see better times coming. She couldn't see it. She couldn't see it. But unfortunately, I want to know how that impacted with her children, who are now really growing up. How did she react to all those 13 children that she had? Probably about 11 now because of the two terrible deaths. So she had probably 11 children. How did she react with her children? What was the lovers in reverse? These are choices. She made a bad choice with her children. Let me just get another one. Seven of Wands. Yeah. I think she guarded them so much. She didn't want anyone coming near her children. It's like this is like the night. If you can think of this with something behind them to protect, and they go, stay away, stay away. She wouldn't let them go off into the world. She wanted to control them. The lovers in reverse, I mean, this could be seen as her relationship with King George, but also her relationship with her children. She became controlling, and her choice was to not let anybody near these children. She wanted to make sure that they stayed with her. So, absolutely dreadful situation. So, she must have been deeply distressed about her husband. And, the way that she dealt with this was by trying to keep her children very close to her. So, things were going from bad to worse. And then King George had a final set of madness in 1788. So how was that? Two of Wands. Well, the Two of Wands, the right way up. This is that sort of indecision before a big life moment. Do I move forward? Do I pause? And it's quite an exciting card. Well, there's nothing exciting about this. This is full stop. This is just everything stops. This man has just had yet another bout of illness, another bout of mania. What to do with this man? And she is at her wit's end. A card for Catherine, please. Sorry, Charlotte. A card for Charlotte. Well, yes. I think that she probably felt like death. She probably thought that he was dying. This card, the Four of Swords, it can be seen as just recovery, recuperation, regrouping, but I just see this as basically wanting an end to this, wanting an end to him, wanting an end to, this dreadful situation. And she feared that he was dying. And to be honest with you, she probably felt that death would be a release because, he was so unbearable, so difficult to deal with. So finally, one of her daughters, Princess Elizabeth, she's 47. And the Queen eventually said that she could marry at 47. This is how controlling she was. So I just want to pull a card on that. Knight of Swords. King of Swords, yeah. She finally has agreed. These are words, and I should imagine that Princess Elizabeth just said, "Please, let me marry. I found my King of Swords. This is right. This is what I need to do." And Charlotte did sort of acquiesce and say, "Well, yes, all right, then you can marry." But this poor daughter, her best of her life is gone. She'll never have children. And the mother had been so controlling. So let's just pull another one here. The Hanged Man. Yeah, I think that she felt that she had no choice. She had to let it happen. She had to just step back and let this happen now. And I think that she was so worn down by the illness of her husband that when her daughter came to her and said, "Please let me marry my King of Swords," that she just sort of said, "I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway." So I think that the Queen just let her do it. But I think she was in such a limbo over everything. It's just such a dreadful, dreadful situation. So, we're getting to the end of their lives. They've been together 50 years, and he's saying to her, "Oh, I'm seeing other women." And he was very he was very sexually inappropriate, not only with his daughter-in-law, who was the Princess of Wales, Caroline of Brunswick. He was very sexually inappropriate with her. He was inappropriate with his own daughters, and I believe with the Queen as well. So I want to know how how that played out. Yeah, very much a light was shone onto this, how inappropriate he was being. Um, this was just like sort of manifesting something that it was just so difficult to ignore. He was being giving unwanted sexual advances to his children, to his daughter-in-law, to his wife, and it couldn't be hidden. It was there for everyone in the court to see. They were seeing this man being totally inappropriate, and how, yeah, and this is not the way that their life had been. If you remember back to the beginning of the reading, their life was the Six of Cups. It was just happy, and it's thinking back to how they were as young royals, how the excitement of having children when they first had them, before all this controlling behavior happened. But now, thinking back, she can't think of the good times anymore because just so much badness has come through from this illness. And then finally, the Prince of Wales had to become Prince Regent because his father was so ill and so mentally unstable. So how did Queen feel about that? How did Charlotte feel about having to give the regency? Yeah, very unhappy about it. Very unhappy about it. Both her and King George did not appreciate the Prince of Wales. They didn't like his drinking, his overindulgence. The right way up temperance card is very balanced and very moral card. The wrong way up is quite devilish energy. They thought that, it's the worst thing. I shouldn't think the king thought very much at all. I think he was so ill by this stage. But Charlotte wasn't very happy at all about this regency, but she had to let it happen because her husband was totally incapable of ruling. And then, he has this episode that just keeps going on and on, the longest of the episodes. And how was her health? How was her health? After about 50 years of marriage, what was her health like? Yeah. We've got two cards here. The High Priestess. The High Priestess is someone who copes with things, who just understands the ways of the world, just has empathy and understands the mystical side of life. Well, no. Charlotte didn't understand any of that. She was very much she'd become a very self-centered woman, very her needs mattered. With the High Priestess, she very much, she looks outside herself and she looks at everybody else's balance and the ways of the world. The other way up, it's very much self-centered, self-serving, and this is the way that she'd become. I think she had to protect herself, and she become this very controlling woman. So this is her in her last years. And the Page of Wands, I think that she'd lost all passion for her children, for her husband, for life, for living. The Page of Wands is that passionate young energy of, yes, I have a project, how she would have felt with her charity work in the beginning, but nothing brought her pleasure anymore. I see that very much as, the Page of Wands, nothing brought her pleasure anymore. And she was just so self-centered. I mean, the fact that she wouldn't let her daughter marry until she was 47, basically, 47, she wouldn't be able to have children. Her life was nearly over in those days, wasn't it? At 47. So a final card, the Queen Charlotte, Three of Cups. Yeah. I think that Three of Cups, the right way up, this is people rallying around. See the women here. I mean, she caused her daughters dreadful loneliness and heartache. They've been shackled to her, basically, and not allowed to be free. She hadn't been allowed to be free by her husband. He'd very much shackled her to him. And then she'd done the same with her daughters. And I think at the end of her life, You know, the daughters were very bitter. This isn't a working together card. This isn't a joyous card. This is daughters that are lonely and isolated. There's no joy in this card, which there should be. It's inverted. All the emotion has run out. She wasn't a beloved mother at the end. And this is so sad. It really is sad. So I'm just going to go right to the bottom of the pack and see what we have there. Eight of Cups. I mean, I see this. It isn't a death card, but it's just moving on. Look how dark and grey this is. I believe that King George died only 2 years after his wife. Charlotte died in 1818 of heart failure, and then I think King George died only a couple of years later. And it's just like, him going off. She'd already left, leaving behind, the sadness. Eight of Cups isn't always a sad card, but look at the color of this. So much positivity at the beginning of this marriage, so much positivity, so much love between them. And this illness that he had just turned this woman into a total control freak who was very self-centered and, caused her daughters so much pain, isolated them. She was against her son. She never backed up her children because she had those low boundaries that we spoke about earlier, because the king could do no wrong at one stage. And then when he was ill, that magnified her control. Absolutely dreadful. I feel terribly sorry for her, but at the end of her life, I don't think she was a loved mother at all. And she went and blow me down if George didn't follow her only a couple of years later. He couldn't even leave her alone in death. So that's what I have on Queen Charlotte. Um, I don't know what else you know. Um, it's a very sad one, this. I wasn't expecting it to be quite as dark as that. If you know more, I would love to hear about it. But as I say, I haven't really gone into dates and the other energy around it because I really wanted to focus on this lady in particular. So let me know what you think, and I'll be back soon with another one. Thank you. Bye-bye.